today, my guest is Dr. Sandra Luyindula. Dr. Sandra Luyindula earned her bachelor's in Biology Premed with minors in chemistry and French from Xavier University of Louisiana. She then attended Ross University School of Medicine and completed her family residency at Greenville Health System, where she received the Greenville Health System Gold Award. Dr. Luyindula is double board certified in family medicine and lifestyle medicine. She enjoys providing primary care for patients of all ages, along with making house calls for her patients. She has a special interest in women's health and lifestyle medicine. What she loves about practicing medicine is the connection she makes with her patients and the ability to cheer them on as they work to achieve their various goals, and even added aesthetics to her practice. When she's not in medicine, you will find her spending time with her husband and 3 children in her kitchen, creating new recipes or traveling. Some other things to know about Dr. Luyindula is that she speaks 4 different languages fluently: English, French, Lingala, and Tetela. She is also been exposed to and can communicate in Spanish, Creole, and Swahili. And she has even ventured into learning some other languages like Luba, Congo, Twi, Igbo, and Yoruba. Let's meet Dr. Sandra Luyindula. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Gaby U Show. So today I have the amazing guest, Dr. Sandra Luyindula. Dr. Sandra, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming here today. So I'm going to start out with my amazing icebreaker question.
Okay.
Gaby U special. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what is your favorite food?
Sushi.
Ooh, sushi.
Yes.
All right.
You cannot go wrong once you have sushi in front of me. The more raw, the better.
Oh, man. So, well, I am not a sushi person, but I know I love the sushi. I have a modified way I will eat the sushi. It has to be well cooked. And then I just, so I'm sure there are a lot of fans on the sushi. The more raw it is, the better for them. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. My guilty pleasure.
It's your sushi. Well,
that's right.
It's a healthy, guilty pleasure, So get your fish oil, your omega-3s,
That's right. Don't forget the extra ginger.
Yes. Yeah. Make you smart, right? More fish, more smartness, they say. All right. For the brain, brain food. Yeah.
All of the above.
Yes.
So sushi. There it is.
Okay. So the next thing I want to ask you is, what is your favorite quotes? I know a lot of us, we have these quotes that keeps us going, and there's one particular one that we just hold on. So what would that be?
I think for me, the quote will change based on the season. That's an honest truth. But one that will stick right now is by John Maxwell. Keep your failure and your success together.
Oh, wow.
It sounds very simple, very, very simple. But basically what he was saying there is that we need to keep failure and success very close to each other so that in your time of success, you remain humble. In your time of failure, you remain resilient. So the most powerful leaders and the most prominent leaders will usually talk about failure as a learning experience, something that led to a change, not always something negative. So keep your failure and your success close.
That is amazing. You just hit the nail on the head, because this is one thing I have always to will say that, failure is not a trait, it is an event.
Yes.
That is, I think it kind of links to it, because you hear sometimes people who say, oh, I'm a failure, I can never get anything right. But it's not really, it's an event. And also we need some of those failures to move us into greater stuff. And people that we've seen successful, they went through what we call the failure to be where
That's
they
right.
are. You can't, maybe very few people would be like one thing they do and they're successful. But a lot of us, we have to go through these failures to get to that success, because we know success.
Failure is an important learning experience. It
Yes.
should lead to change. So
Yes.
you are absolutely right. It's an event.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Success is not a straight line. It has the ups and downs of it. If anybody
right.
tells you that success is a straight line, run away from that person.
That's right. It's not an elevator. The steps. You have to go up to each level.
Yes, that's a good one. I'm already picture. I could draw that. I'm not an artist, but I think I've actually seen a picture like that they put how success is taking one step to the next step, getting, love it. All right. So now I want you to share with us, what are the things you feel like has shaped you to be this woman you are today? Is it from your childhood, your career, friendship, relationship, motherhood? I want you to go all the way in and, share with us.
The first thing that has shaped me to be who I am today is my faith.
Yes.
And growing up in a Christian home, then over time, learning, that you have to make God your own. It's not the God of your father. It's your God, right? So I believe in Christ, and I know that without God, I wouldn't be where I am today. However, there are so many struggles and victories over time that has shaped me to be who I am today together. Not just a failure, not just the victories, but together they have shaped me to be who I am today. And so the first one will be at the tender age of 16, I moved to the US. So I moved from one continent to another at 16 years old, right? So the biggest struggle there was the language barrier. I am originally from DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. So French is the native language. And now I had to learn English at 16. It led me to stop the extracurricular activities that I was doing in high school at the time, volleyball specifically, because every time I got home, I had to literally use the dictionary, and every single word had to be translated because English was not my language. I never spoke it. And so that definitely was a struggle. That then, pushed me toward learning the language so I can be part of the community, because I was in a English-speaking community and I had to learn English. And then, the other thing was separation from my parents at the time. When I moved, I was living with my uncle, and that was the first time ever I've been separated from my parents. And at 16, that's tough. That was tough enough that but God has a plan for every experience, and that was an experience that also shaped me into the woman that I am today. How much time do we have for me to tell you about what has shaped me?
We have a lot of time. Go ahead.
And then medical school came along. Medical school. Medical school is a time where I learned to rely on God, right? So medical school was that period where you rely on Him fully, because it's not a walk in the park. If someone tells you that medical school was easy, they just walk through and just dance on the cloud.
I've never heard of it yet.
Thank you. It's very costly financially, physically, and mentally. Yes. And so during that time, there was a struggle where, you know, you have to figure out how to pay for it financially. I am not first generation American. My parents, you know, didn't have, well, they did have, but didn't save all this funds for you to go to medical school, right? So learning the ropes and trying to figure out how do you get through medical school. But was favored enough that I was able to do that. But I have never seen so many zeros behind the numbers until I saw the cost of medical school with all the zeros at the end of how much you owe at the end of medical school. So that was definitely a learning experience. Then came marriage and motherhood, which was the icing on the cake. But again, if you've been married and you have children, it is not easy doing all of that while juggling a career, right? So I have to make a daily commitment to be great before I do it for my career. I have to be it in my own home, right? So to be great in my marriage and to be present for my children. And so that is another area that continues to shape me even today into the woman I'm becoming as well. So, and then just a career, you know, when we talked about career in medicine, you know, you go through the school and then residency, and then not everybody that went to medical school get accepted into residency, but they still have the debt that they have to pay.
Oh, wow.
So some people don't know that, but we have friends, you know, and family who went through the whole process of medical school, but did not match for residency. And so it was a blessing to accomplish that, to be counted as a victory in that sense. Someone is trusting you with the life, or someone is trusting you with the life of the loved one. And so you have to learn to serve well. And that takes long hours, a lot of learning. But my journey in medicine as a career also came with discrimination, right? So it was a fact, you know, I am a woman. I am a woman of color. I am of African descent. English is not my first language. And the icing on the cake, there's a little accent there, depending on who I'm around. And so there is discrimination, you know, from different aspects. But again, you can choose to look at all the struggles as negativity, and remain in pity, or you can look at that and realize that all things work together for the good, right? So every single step, every single struggle, every single victory have shaped me to be who I am today.
Yes. Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, the something that you talked about, which is not something this is the first time I'm hearing that's, and all the people, if you go to medical school and you don't get residency, not everybody gets taken in residency. So I think my question is like, what happens to that? Do they wait or they lose it? What happens? I'm just curious.
I mean, they keep applying, right? Some keep applying to residencies. Some go on alternative path. You know, different states will allow some physicians to do alternative path.
Alternative paths, what do you mean by that?
So, for example, there is, if in the state of Florida, you have to go online and look it up. I don't have all the criteria, but if you work for X amount of years, you can be allowed to carry a medical license with that residency.
Okay.
And so even, you know, in the hiring process, when we were hiring and growing the different practices, you'll see an applicant who will have, you know, a medical license but without residency. And some of them just do something else.
Some just get tired of waiting.
That's right. Go and follow other paths and other careers. And for some, it's been 5 years plus, and they're still, you know, not in residency. So it's definitely not, it's not an easy path.
Wow. I mean, that's the thing that we don't hear a lot. So I'm sure some of you listeners too are like me, like, oh, wow. And, this is, of course, this is not something to discourage you to be a doctor, that you shouldn't be a
No.
doctor, but it's just to know what is entailing it. And, it's, I know sometimes some job pathways, we go through them because maybe that first thing of like, oh, for job security, but when you get into it, you will know yourself. I mean, how this is more than job security, especially in the medical field, being a doctor or a nurse or nurse practitioner, dealing with people, vulnerable people, sick people, it has to be something that you are called to. If you are in it for job security, you might go through the process, but you will not last long.
That's right.
So that's where I want to lead to my question, like, what were the motivations for you going into the medical school, or what pushed you or moved you, or
well, I've had a lot of family members, especially on maternal side,
yes,
when just kind of during conversations, with my mother, just going through and saying, hey, I never met grandma, right? Because her mother passed before I never got to meet her.
yes.
Oh yeah, she died of heart disease. And oh yeah, so her brother died of kidney disease, and so died of this. And then you're looking at the living relative and you realize they have high blood pressure. So was it really just kidney disease? And was it really just heart disease? Or was it hypertension all along that led to all of the other things,
Yes.
right? And so that's definitely spiked a curiosity in me to go to medical school. But then my father wanted me to do pharmacy school. And I made a deal with him that one summer I would try to go to work in a pharmacy for a little bit. And I came home, I said, Dad, I can't do it. I can't do it. And so me going to medical school, to really answer your question, was, curiosity and wanting to find out more about, what the root of certain diseases that we deal with, especially from seeing family members pass,
yes,
but also rebellion against my dad. I told him that, and he still thinks it's
you should
still
have gone to
pharmacy school today. Yes,
like
yes, he still remembers that.
I can do both of them somehow, And this is the thing. I know I had one of my guests, we talked about this thing about, in the African culture. I mean, for like Nigerians, there's certain pathways with like, I think it's just general, say immigrants thing, that these are the pathways you need to go. Doctor, lawyer, engineering. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not anyone in that list is nothing. You already can manifest while you're even pregnant. It's like, oh, I am having a doctor. There's a lawyer in my belly. You can already give them the profession even before they were born. And but things are changing, and we are, of course, there are so many professions out there, and the thing is to, we can, as parents, recommend, suggest, like, to your child, see where their strengths are from, and you can start telling them, but we want to make sure they are, it's something too they can do, and they can do things to test it out. This is the thing too, I'm encouraging people, if there's a profession you are thinking of doing, sometimes there are many different ways you can go test it out. Example for me, I came from Nigeria as a microbiologist. I've not really worked with it while I was in Nigeria, because when I graduated not long, I came here. And when I came, everybody were talking about me I actually thought of going to pharmacy school, but because I didn't think I could do anything medical, because I was scared of blood. I was so scared of blood. So my parents were like, maybe you should be a pharmacist. So anyway, when I came to, it's something like after I got married and I guess had a baby, came to America, and I was like, okay, maybe I want to do medical. I want to go to medical school. But then with some advice from people, they were like, medical school is expensive, you're married, all this stuff. And I decided to test the waters, like, okay, I will go into nursing, but I want to be a nurse assistant. Because so that was what somebody suggested that was already a nurse. And she's like, why don't you be a nurse assistant so you can test and see if it's a pathway? And so this is an example I'm just giving, like I know I've talked about it in some of the episodes, but something that there are different ways you can test it out. For you went to the pharmacy.
I worked in the pharmacy, and it's you hit the nail on the head, right? So parents, as a parent today, you look at your children's strength, but you also listen to what they want to do, right? And you guide them, right? So you show them the pros and the cons. You may not know this is the gift and this is what they're called to do. Let them do, because I don't want to be, and you don't want them to be miserable in what they're doing because they're not enjoying it. Because if you're miserable, then you're not serving well. And so look at the strength, encourage them to do what they want to do to some extent, because that could be they're leaning towards something they may be called to, but you provide guidance and not an obligation.
Yes. And I think that's another thing too, talking about those too, being careful that we are not trying to make our children live that dream that we couldn't.
That's right.
That's
right.
Because you didn't do it. You're like, okay, my child must do it, even though you are. It's showing that the child is no, nada, not interested. But you're like, I want them to be this, and also comparison as well. And I think that thing goes a lot in the community, because you're like, hey, that one has 2 doctors in their house. Why don't one of your children have to be a doctor, or this one has a lawyer in their house? Why can't my own child be a lawyer too? All that stuff. And you know that every child is different,
Yes. Everyone has a different calling. Everyone has a different gift. We need to cherish what they bring to the table. We don't compare them to somebody else. Your gift is not my gift, and it's okay, right? Because we cannot all be the same. We have to operate in different capacity, different abilities, and that's the beauty of being unique. And something else you said earlier, if you're trying to go to a certain career because of security, be careful. 2 days ago, I had a young patient who said, "Oh, I want to be a doctor. I think I can be a doctor because the money, right?" And I usually tell them, if you're going to medical school for the money, please don't do it. It's the wrong motive. It's the wrong motive. And not only is it the wrong motive, you may end up having loans. You may end up paying them for 10 to 20 years. And it's the wrong motivation, right? So you're completely right. Don't compare. Each child is doing something that's different and unique. And we just encourage them along and let them do whatever they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, like for me personally, when I was going into nursing, the motive was like, oh, it's job security. That was what my motive. But when I started doing it, like being a nurse assistant, nursing aide, and then going into the pathway of the nursing school, it started coming to me that, actually when I was even a nursing assistant, because I work with a lot of nurses and doctors, I started looking like, what, this is more than job security. I actually started feeling like, what, I really like this. I really want to keep going, with this thing, and it wasn't feeling like, oh, I loved it. So, and as I went through this pathway, when I became a nursing instructor, and I would talk to my students about this almost all the time. Like, look, if you are in this profession, I share my story all the time. Like, if you're in this profession because of job security, you are not going to last long. Yes, you will graduate, but you will not last long because, being in this profession, sometimes you hear all these statements of, oh, she's an angry nurse, she's an angry doctor, such a no bed manners, no this, no that. I mean, it's not That's not supposed to be. If you find yourself, you are in this profession for all these years and you're beginning to be referred, or you yourself start feeling that way, that you don't, this job again, then it's time to quit. It's time to quit.
Or at least take a break, because burnout,
or take a break,
is real. Burnout is a real thing.
Or look for another kind of specialty, because again, this kind of profession is like one job in many. You can do many different things with it. You don't, if you don't want to take care of old people, you can decide to be pediatric, you can decide to be cruise doctor or cruise nurse, or
and helicopter. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
elite doctor, work for the elite, work for the athletes, So you just have to know, because these are vulnerable, sick people you're taking care of. You don't want to have this thing with them. And this is the thing that as we're talking, so let me share that too, because when I used to, I was working as a nurse, I used to do weekends, work as a nurse, and during the week, I would go for my nurse practitioner school during the week, like Monday to Friday. And then when I come the weekend, I'm working, I'm all joyful, laughing, talking with my other nurses and everything. And then whenever we settle down on the desk there, and I start sharing them my experience through the week, how hard it is and everything, and they will be like, and you are still like all this joyful. And I say, hey, when I got to the hospital, I dropped the problems at the door. I am not bringing this in because I'm going to be taking care of all these sick people that need me. And I'm not going to be bringing all my problems to them.
Because, and this you have to separate it, right?
Yes.
But and in talking to some of those patients, some of the struggle will hit a little too close to home, right? But you're human and they're human. That's when you share, right? And sometimes you'll cry together, sometimes you'll laugh together.
Exactly.
But that's shared humanity happening during that time, because you prepare to serve them well, and you do that because you feel that you call to it, you feel that it's something you really want to do, you love what you do as much as possible, but being mindful that burnout can happen, and be able to withdraw when needed.
Exactly. And that is the thing, talking about working with working with your patients, sharing your stuff. Sometimes with my patients, I will share them my own story, like, look, this is what you're struggling with. I have struggled with it. I'm the practitioner. I'm not perfect. I'm human. And I understand where you're coming from. If it's something with, sometimes, they will share with you what is going on. They're having problem with a difficult child, or, something, marriage or something. And I will share something that we can relate on, and like, look,
That's right.
This is what I do, this is what I have done, give some encouragement. And it's like, oh wow, and they don't feel like, okay, I'm the only one dealing with this, and
because trust is built, right? And if I need to trust you, but you feel like a god, and I can't talk to you, I can't relate to you, and you have this God complex, how can we really relate?
I'm human too, but we can overcome this. It has happened to me before,
That's right.
And here we go, and that is where this job is not, if you don't take it like just for job security, here I just make the money and get out of here, you would not have that empathy. You are not going to they will even see it, like, oh, I'm just here, I just work here. This is not the kind of job. There are so many jobs you can take your emotion out and say, hey, I just work here. Medical profession, you cannot just be like, I just work here, because people's life depends on you, emotional health, everything, physical, they are here. So,
and that's when you still have to, that's why you have to include self-care, right? Because you carry so much, you have to find some time for some self-care, which is hard, because we tend to give.
Yes.
And you don't know how to withdraw when it's necessary.
That's right. So, because another thing too, which I don't know if you can share with me, that how, being a medical person and also having that you're a medical person to have family or friends, they want a free consultation. How do you deal with that?
Well, you always have to build some limits, some
Mm-hmm.
limitations, right? The reality is, in our current healthcare system, most of the time, your loved ones are not taken care of the way they should be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have experienced it with my own loved ones. I have experienced it with, my own mother. I have experienced it with my cousin who nearly died with childbirth,
Wow.
literally coded. She and the baby, right? And so I've had to play advocate, but most of the time I try to encourage them and teach them how to advocate for themselves, because you can't always call me, you can't always rely on me for me to do that. So how do you do it for yourself? And then free advice and such, I can give an overview of direction, but the last sentence is usually go speak to your provider, because you may only tell me the little thing on the surface, but you're not telling me everything else that's on that medical chart. So I cannot give you advice to begin with.
Yes.
And because I'm so close, sometimes, it's my judgment could not be.
Yeah, could be too subjective.
Fresh. That's right. And so I usually, it's very superficial, but it's usually hey, I will talk with your trusted healthcare professional about that, and make sure you follow up. And sometimes I'll call them to make sure they follow up.
Yeah.
But really minimize medical advice as much as possible.
Yes. I mean, that's what I go through. I mean, my mom, she doesn't live with me. She's in another city with my brother, but she would call me with all that. I mean, she would send me labs and all that, which I would look. I'd be like, this is what you need to do, all this stuff. It's like, okay, I'm going to the doctor today. Tell me which labs I'm supposed to do, all this stuff. So I teach her. I've been, making her to be her own self-advocate. I would tell her, I'll be like, this is what you should do. This is what the doctor would tell you. They might say they don't want to do this test. Teach her like, this is the reason. And, she goes there and she's telling them all this stuff and giving them the reasons. And they were like, ma'am, I mean, she's in her 70s. They're like, ma'am, I've been a nurse before. Because, of course, she's retired. She's like, no, my daughter is functional medicine nurse practitioner. Yes, it's like, oh, okay.
That's right. And for our elderly parents, and especially for me as well, French being a native language, sometimes I've had to accompany them virtually over the phone to a medical practice. But out of respect for everyone, any practitioner, any professional out there, I usually ask them, before you call me, please let them know and ask for permission. Make sure it's okay for you to call me. I'm not. And most of the time, I tell them I am the silent fly on the wall. I just need to hear what's going on with them. And I do that for my patients too. And I do that for my patient in a different sense, because when they go to a specialist, an oncologist, they're so in their mind, it's all about cancer or whatever diagnosis they're dealing with, that they're not listening, or they don't have the proper answers for that child who has had fever for 3 weeks in a row. They just don't know how to speak to infectious disease about it. They don't have the details anymore because they're just confused at that time. And so I play that advocate as well for them to listen, to give the clinician the data, the provider, the physician the data that they need. But without overstep, you have to know your boundaries.
Yes, that's right. I mean, sometimes too, I'll go to a practice, maybe some practice, and I try not to show that I'm a nurse practitioner and I know this stuff. I just keep quiet. But then it's the level you can be quiet, and then I say something, then they're like, oh, are you, because that cannot just come from somebody that just knows the stuff on the streets.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes we tell on ourselves, because you use the terminology and they're like, wait, that's not common term. Wait, why did you, what?
I didn't know.
I know. And, and the flip side of that, the sad part of it is that sometimes your treatment changes based on who you are. And it shouldn't be that way. Unfortunately, it is. I've had 3 children, and I don't think I've ever told them that I was a physician. I mean, one of them was at the hospital where I trained, so I couldn't hide that. But the other 2 were elsewhere, and they didn't know. I never told them I was a physician. But later on, I found out that the scarlet letters were on my chart. and that's how you see how the treatment changes because they know who you are, but it shouldn't be that way.
No.
That's our little soapbox for
yeah. We try as much to hide, but somehow they find out. And then it's because I want to like just see like, somehow I'm not like I'm testing them, but I was just like, let's just be normal. And because I've had a time when I went to draw blood in one of these labs, and I mean the guy, I know he knows how to draw blood. I mean, he looks like he knows what. I mean, this is the first time I'm seeing him. And then he just asked me, what do I do? And I told him, and I think he panicked and he wasn't getting my blood. Trying not to tell him what
you made them nervous. Same thing. They start using medical terminology with you, and especially in the labor and delivery. And my husband will look and say, guys, non-medical here.
Yeah,
right?
like we're not. No, I'm not. You are in charge, okay? I'm not. I know when I had one of my babies in the postpartum floor where I was working, and the nurses will come and say, hey, you might as well just take this thing and do your own documentation.
No, I know.
Oh my, yeah, that's the thing. So what would you say, what would you say you're most proud as a woman today?
Ooh.
I know you are proud of many things, but what is that one thing if I wake you in the middle of the night?
I am proud of the woman that I am becoming.
Okay.
I am proud of the evolving woman, the growing woman, the learning woman, in various areas, right? In faith, in family, marriage, in business, in leadership, in entrepreneurship. I am proud of the woman that I'm becoming, because it seems like it's an evolving stages, many evolving stages in life.
Yes.
So that's what I will say.
I like that. Proud of the woman you are becoming, because he's like, there is still room for change. We can get better. That's right. Not where we are.
No, getting better and better.
We shouldn't limit ourselves,
That's right.
When this is something I always would say, that we don't want to say, oh, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too this, different things will come at different times, because God knows you're ready, and if some things are not happening, maybe you're not ready, he's still working on you, because if he gives you that thing right now, you might not value it.
That's right.
And this one thing that somebody shared, it's actually a pastor that was sharing. I thought that was a really good way of looking at things, that for you to be qualified, to have your certificate or your degree or something, you have to go through tests. And this is what's in life. We are going through all these tests, and then we finally get to do the qualification to get the certificate. So you have to go through a test. And I thought that was so powerful. Like, wow, I never looked at it that way.
I never either. But we don't like the test when we have to sit down and take them for exam, for board.
Nerve-wracking.
But it's the same thing. We don't like the trials and tribulation that we go through in life to be the person. It's pruning. You're constantly pruning. You want that tree to grow well. You want that garden to do well. It's a constant pruning. And that means you evolving. And yes, I am proud of the woman that I'm becoming, always learning.
Yes, always learning. We never stop learning.
No.
Yeah. So as we end this podcast today, I want you to tell us what is some encouraging words you want to give our listeners today?
Okay.
What is
stand. No matter how many times you get knocked down, get back up and stand, right? Because like we talked about, be perseverant, be relentless. Life will come, tests will come, tribulations will come, and some of them will knock you down. But with every failure, let the failure be a learning experience and provoke change, right? Sometimes we fail because we do something wrong. So learn from that mistake and make it right. But also, God knows that there are times where we'll be weak. There are times where we will not feel strong. We will not have the courage. That's what he told us in Joshua 1:9. Be strong and of good courage, right? Because do not be afraid, because I am with you wherever you go. And so when I said that my faith has really shaped who I am, the majority of who I am, that word continues to remind me, have courage, be strong, be resilient, be perseverant, and stand. Just there are times where you'll be weak, get back up and keep pushing.
That's awesome. Great encouraging words. Yes. No matter how much time we fall, we just keep getting up. Get
back up.
Oh, okay. Yes. I get up again. I'm like, gonna do it.
That's your self-talk. And get back up.
That's all. But I'm getting up again. I'm getting on.
That's right.
That is so awesome. So how can we connect with you, Dr. Sandra? How do people connect with you? This amazing lady, how do we connect with her?
So we just launched a private practice. It's called The Well MD. We are located in South Carolina physically, but we have access to North Carolina, Indiana, and soon Georgia. And there are many more states coming based on the need. But you can definitely, our patients though, the relationship doesn't stop, right? So you can be on the go and traveling, and you know how to reach right back to us to be able to be taken care of. So you can connect with us on our website on thewell-md.com. You can find us on Facebook, personal is Sandra EL, or you can also find us at thewell-md on Facebook. Instagram is thewell.md. And of course, on LinkedIn, it's my full name, Sandra E. Luyindula, and you'll find us right there for, we love to connect with you. We love to see what your needs are, or how we can encourage you and empower you to become the person that God has called you to be.
That is amazing. And can you tell me more how your practice work again? How it
Yes.
goes?
So we do what we call direct primary care, which is a model that does not take insurance, but we have memberships for our patients. They pay once a month. The fees vary based on the state, but in general, your membership is less than your cell phone bill, definitely less than your cable bill. I can guarantee you that almost. And for that, you have access to your physician. I'll say at all times, but being respectful and mindful, because as you know, your physicians have families as well, but you have access to your physicians at any time, emails, phone, text messages. And also, there's never a copay. Every time you're seen, every time you talk to us, there is never a copay. The only thing you pay for is the membership. And with that, we have negotiated prices within the communities for labs, imaging, and medications even, that saves patients a lot of money. But most of all, the individualized, the personal care that you receive is like none other. This is exactly how medicine is supposed to be, both for the patient foremost, but also for the physician, because I can care for you at a level that we've never been able to do so before, because our panels are smaller, right? So I can really give you the attention that you need, and it's never a rushed visit. You can be seen the next day or the same day even. And so check us out and learn more about direct primary care.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love that.
I forgot to say.
What?
We also do aesthetics.
Oh, okay.
And lifestyle medicine, right? So it's not all about medications. So we can definitely talk about your lifestyle and how we can heal and reverse some of your chronic diseases, right? Because we don't always want to take pills after pills. So there are ways we can get away from some of that as well. And soon to come, obesity medicine. So stay tuned.
Love it. Yes, it's unfortunate that in the United States, or even in the whole world, obesity is getting higher and higher, and a lot of the diseases, comorbidities, come from obesity, and so much things need a lot of practitioners like you in that area. So
Absolutely.
that is amazing. So all these links, if you're gonna be seeing them in the description area. So check out those. If you're watching on YouTube, it's gonna be there, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places you can find podcasts, it will be in the description area. So make sure you check them out. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking this time today to talk with us. So this comes to the end of the Gaby U Show, and I will end this podcast with one of my favorite quotes from Maya Angelou that says, "When you know better, you do better." Okay, guys, see you next time. Bye.